We are back.
We back.
Let me turn this down. We are back. We are back. Hold up. I ain't hearing nothing in my headphones. Hold up. Turn my headphones up a little bit real quick.
Turn him up.
All right. We are back. Episode. What episode? Episode 6 of Nutty North. I am Rondell Sutherland. Oh, we're back. Episode 6, Nutty North, presented by Mojo Sports Care. I am Rondell Sutherland here with T Nesbitt. You know, Maurice is out right now, but we gonna hold it down for him. We gonna hold it down. He at home watching or something.
We can't just tell him Maurice is out. We got to tell him why Maurice is out.
I mean, you want to go into detail. You go ahead.
My man's towards what is his patella tendon?
Yeah.
Something like that. He's still out there doing athletic stuff, and he picked somebody off. Lucky got the interception. Shout out to coach for that one. Came down towards patella tendon, so he's had to have surgery. He's gonna be out. And actually, sadly to say, that's our first. That's our first AFC North injury report. It so happens to be coach.
I don't know. John Ross might get injured. You never know. Dang, why am I harping on my Bengals? Hold up.
I don't know why.
That's tragic.
But get better, coach. We miss you over here, bro.
Yeah, man, we miss you, man. That's twice in a row, man. We need you back, coach. We need you back.
And realize you over 30, bro. Come on now. The athletic peak is over. It's time to coach others.
He only 26.
That's close enough to 30. He look 34. What he say? You look 30. He got to chill, man. That's your coach, bro. You are coach. You ain't player no more. You got to see what happens. I mean, I'm trying to help my man's out. He went out there and played. He tore his patella tendon. Last time I played anything athletic, I twisted the ankle, and I had to tell myself that day I retired.
I feel that.
I'm getting behind the mic.
Yeah, tired to twisting these ankles, man.
Man, I twist my ankle when I wake up in the morning.
That's true. Well, that's just old age.
I know.
That's just old age too.
You'll get there.
But we're gonna start off with some more training camp news. Out of the Bengals camp, it seems that they have picked up Mike Daniels and put John Ross on the reserve/COVID list. What do you think this means, T?
They're trying to get, if nothing else, the Bengals are trying to make sure that their defensive line is great. The offense may take a while to come around. I'm really starting to think that they watched our show and they seen that rankings, and you know how we were talking about the D tackles, the defensive line just kind of being neck to neck, one move here, one move there,
right,
to elevate you in our rankings. I think that Mike Daniels move kind of makes Cincinnati have something to say. Again, I still think Cincinnati's going to finish last in the division. I still think they're a ways behind the other teams, but if nothing else, that defensive line has something to say. Mike Daniels is a dog. And the thing about Mike Daniels too is he's a lot different than Geno. Like Geno's kind of more so the quiet leader. He does what he does on the field, and that's how he does his talking. But I think Mike Daniels, he's an animal. Mentality, he's an animal. So he goes at things as far as I'm gonna use this to make up for my skills coming down a little bit. Don't get me wrong, Mike Daniels can still play, but he's more of a rotational piece right now for the Bengals. But the Bengals defensive line, that's perfect for what they need. So I just think it was a slam dunk pickup for him. He had a tough year with the Lions last year, but I think the Lions more so they did what a lot of teams do divisional wise. They see a player on the market that played for a division rival, which Mike Daniels did for the Packers, and they said, okay, he's available, let me get him. Nothing else just to help beat the Packers because the Lions have had enough problems with them. But they brought him on the team. They really didn't have much use for him. He didn't play a lot. And then you look at him and say, well, Mike Daniels might be washed. He might be washed. He's not washed. He just didn't have an opportunity to play. Now you put him around, Geno Atkins, and you put him around Reader, and they could be a problem, at least in that interior. So I love the move for him. It's a great move.
All right, hold on. I'm checking something out, making sure we're not having technical difficulties.
Get out the DMs, bro. We are on the show.
I am making sure we don't have technical difficulties.
I mean, we'll have technical issues if you keep jumping in the DMs. We got a time frame to do our show. Can we just get along with it, please, sir? I think we good. I can hear it. I can see it. I can sound it. It's love.
Wait, you got it on your phone?
Yeah, I always have it on my phone.
Okay, you hear it right now?
Yep.
All right,
we good.
Okay, good.
But
I don't know what be up with my Facebook and everything. But nah, I hear you about that. They're trying to stack their defensive line and everything, which I mean I'm not mad at completely as a Bengals fan, but I just want to know how they gonna work that offensive line because that's always been our problem.
Yeah, I mean Jonah Williams coming along that helps, and I'm big on competition too. So a big way that you get better is to have the defensive line that they have going against that offensive line. Um, Not often are you going to see a line like that in your in the NFL. Um, so it's kind of that old age adage where if you're not ready, you're gonna have to get ready. And I think that's where the Bengals are right now with that offensive line because you have to be able to block these dudes. You know what I mean? So, and I think again, Jonah Williams coming along to that offensive line, it does help a lot.
Yeah, it
So,
helps
it
tremendously.
puts everything into place for each body on that offensive line. So I mean, I'm just interested to really see how those two things coexist. And again, the line is always the easiest thing to get to come along. I know training camp right now is kind of more walkthroughs and stuff, so you can't really put pads on. You can't really get
All right.
physical at this point.
Well,
But
I think the Ravens padded up not too long ago.
do they?
Yeah, I want to say.
I thought it was something league wide, but I don't know. The time may have ended for that the non-paddock practice, but still, like the lines will always be able to kind of come along because they're not. You don't have to teach them too much.
Right.
The line, you know how to block. You know the schemes. You know what kind of offense you're running. It's going to be the quarterbacks, the wide receivers, the skill position players that's going to have to get it together. So
True.
I mean, I just think that as long as they coach who they have on the line and kind of work towards those strengths. I mean, the Bengals will come along. I mean, they may be able to surprise some teams. Like that's kind of how I see the Bengals this year. Like maybe not a good record, but I can see them surprise a couple teams. Maybe go
Yeah.
5-11 and three of their wins are against teams you didn't expect them to beat, just because they have a D line like that can win you games.
Right. That's why, like, looking back at when we was doing the schedules, and I was like, I think it was the Ravens had the Browns first week, then the Bengals the second week. I'm like, if they get the job done with the Browns, then the Bengals could be a trap game.
I can see that. Like I get your point with that. I still think
Still,
that's probably too early in the game.
right?
Now I see a reason though. Like we get
Yeah,
to a week 9, 10, somewhere like that, and a team just gets caught slipping.
yeah.
Okay, cool, but the first two
Like
games you
first two
establishes
games,
something. And again, I'm one of those think that the Browns are going to beat the Ravens get week 1 anyway.
right?
So I'm looking at that aspect of them going 0-2. I don't see that. I think
No.
it'll go the other way around. Now, if they do beat the Browns, then I can see your point there too.
All
So,
right.
but yeah, I mean, to answer your question as far as Mike
Wait. Hold on,
Davis,
hold on, hold on. You saying you just solidifying they losing to the Browns?
I think they're going to lose to the Browns. The Ravens are going to lose to the Browns week 1.
I think they're gonna win and then lose to the Bengals.
Hey, if that happens, and that's what I'm saying. Like
That's what,
your trap game kind of situation, I
right.
can see that happening if that occurs. If the Ravens beat the Browns week 1, I can get your point. But I personally think the Browns beat the Ravens week 1, so
Okay.
I don't see them going 0-2. That's why I don't think the Bengals beat them that second game because they're gonna be mad.
Yeah, it's true.
And they're gonna have to take it out on somebody.
All
So
right. Well, what you think about John Ross on the reserve list? Which I don't think it makes any sense. I think he's healthy now, so he
um,
should be out there with the receivers.
it's COVID. It's the COVID world we live in. It's just it is what it is. Um, NFL teams are gonna have to take extra precautions. I didn't watch the whole thing of Hard Knocks, but I watched some of it, and for what I've seen, it's they're super testy now. You know what I
Wait, hold
mean?
on. Who's on Hard Knocks?
The Rams and the Chargers.
Dang, I gotta catch Hard Knocks then.
Yeah, the first episode just came on I think Monday. I want to say. But basically the NFL is just everything super precautious because and it's something that I didn't necessarily get or understand. When they come in, they get tested, they get the results and everything. They're still wearing masks, they're still doing the social distance and all that. And to me, it's like, well, everybody's coming in there and get tested. You're saying that they don't have COVID, you would think that it would be more lax, but that's not how the NFL is running it. They're still doing everything pretty much by the book. You know what I mean? I guess they want to assure that they're going to be a season, so they're not taking any type of precautions. So to go to John Ross's situation, I think that's what's happening with him. It's kind of that, just like they tell you in a regular job, if you got a cough, stay home.
Right.
The cough may not have nothing to do with the corona, but if you even have a cough, stay home. If your head hurts, stay home. If you're sick in any kind of way, stay home. So John Ross can be completely healthy. You sneeze, you see what happens if somebody sneezes. Everybody looks at them. What's up? You know what I mean? You all right? You need to go home. You need to, need to do something with that. So it's more so. I don't want John Ross being the reason the Cincinnati Bengals can't play for 2 weeks. Another thing I was hearing on Hard Knocks a lot, they kept referencing the Marlins. Well, they know what happens, when uh, the COVID enters a clubhouse. Now everybody seems to have to pay. Now you have to move teams around, games around. You have to do too much. So I guess it's like NFL teams are erring on the side of safety just to make sure that one false move doesn't blow up the whole operation. And that's what it's coming down to. So it's throw John Ross on that list. They're treating everybody like they got to play for real. You get sick, you feel some type of way, stay away from the team so you don't blow it up for everybody else. So we may not like it, but this is just the new COVID world we live in.
Right. I mean, like I understand all that, but to me, I just feel like this is his make or break year. Like he's been injured. Like he's only been in the league what 3 4 years.
I think he came in 17.
I think so too. But he's been injured almost every year. Like it's either he's injured at the beginning or it's just he's not on the field.
Brittle.
So it's like that's a waste of he was a first round pick, wasn't he? That's
Top
a
10.
waste of a first round pick.
Yeah.
He's one of the fastest in the league, and he has barely contributed to this offense a lot. So
I just think that they had to, it's still you can be away from the team and still get better. I think so. I mean, I get it. It's just that I don't. And again, we would have to be in these locker rooms. I don't know how they do things like when they tell you to stay away. I know Zoom is still a thing. So is it still being able to be monitored? Do they still have like a personal trainer for him that goes over the drills and stuff with him? Because the COVID list is the COVID list. It's you're staying away from the team, but you can still learn the playbook. You can still do the mental things that get you better. So I think John Ross will be okay, especially let everything happen at the early stages while there's no games. And keep in mind, there's no preseason either. So it's just time to make sure that everybody gets better. And again, taking extra precautions. We don't. We used to live in a world where we didn't do so much. We didn't take too many precautions. We just kind of went on about our day and went on in the world. Now it's just you have to make sure that hand sanitizers everywhere. Again, referencing Hard Knocks, they weren't even able to use their hands for a lot of stuff. They have
right.
ways that they use their feet to open up doors. Like there was a Gatorade thing in there.
They use it.
They use their feet. Like instead of having handles where you grab and open the door, slide it over, instead of same concept, but you just put your feet there and you slide it over that way. It's just everybody is just being super cautious. I think it's just because it's not just let's just say John Ross catches it. It's not just a John Ross thing anymore.
Right. It's the
It's
whole
a
team.
whole organization, and then it's a whole NFL. You're seeing
True.
colleges all over the place get shut down. Seasons getting shut down and all that, and it's nothing even happened there. It's just more of a speculation. What if we don't want to be liable for this? Blah blah blah. Skip skip skip. So it just seems like the mentality is to be super safe and not be super sorry. So I just think that that's just kind of the issue. And if you're John Ross, tough. I mean, that's a tough
Yeah.
break, but at the same time, it's your make or break year too. So whatever he's doing to get him around potentially getting sick or potentially causing problems or whatever, stay away from that too.
All right.
You need to lock yourself into a room and get better. You need to lock yourself into a gym and get better. This is your make or break year. So let me see what you need to do. So
Yeah.
we'll
But I
see.
mean, speaking on like just this COVID thing, like I know Andrew Whitworth, he was talking with Colin. He was talking about how they test like 3 times or like every day or something like
Yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like I get putting someone on the reserve list, on the COVID list, but if you testing so often, I don't see the point
I don't
anymore
either.
though.
It just but none of it makes sense. It's
Right.
just that's what it boils down to. Like, it's organizations in the NFL are just again they're just doing more than enough, so they can't be knocked for not doing enough. Because some of this stuff it seems like it's just the court of public opinion too.
Right.
Because you have those people who scream and holler and yell about, oh, there's not going to be an NFL season. They're not going to be. Some people just like to be right. Forget the fact that I'm an NFL fan and I want to see football. somebody out there already said there won't be NFL season. And now that it's looking like it's being an NFL season, they can't wait till one incident happens so they can say, "See, they should have stopped it, or they should have blew it up, or they should have never had a season, and we knew it was a risk, and da 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 blah blah skip," because they just want to be right.
Right.
So it's just kind of one of them situations. Like the NFL is the NFL. The NFL, shout out to Loganity too, for this reference. It's in this landscape, Godell ain't no different than Vince McMahon, where the show must go on. They don't want nobody to tell them what they can and cannot do, when they can and cannot start. So they want to make sure that nobody's going to have that one up on them to be able to say, "See, you should have canceled it. We shouldn't be playing football." I'm scared of COVID, so you should too. There's the NFL is not trying to let that happen. They again looking at the Marlins, the first thing people started doing when the Marlins situation happened was screaming for MLB to stop the season.
Right. To close down and everything.
For what? It was one isolated incident. You have to do what you have to do to make sure it don't happen again, but it was still an isolated incident. But the same thing applies. Somebody out there didn't want a baseball season, and they didn't think it was going to be a baseball season. And then the baseball season came, and it's, oh well, now I just hope it be canceled so I can still be right. Like people, it's kind of like a trolling mechanism. People want to be right so bad that they'll take the loss just so they can be right. So you'll miss out on football, you'll miss out on baseball, just so one person can sit there and say, "I was right." And it's weird, but again, this is the new COVID world that we live in.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about your Browns, and they just picked up MJ Stewart. How you feeling on that trade?
It's,
On that claim.
it's a death pick. I like it just because it's especially with young players, especially with cornerbacks, you take a little bit to get adjusted to the NFL. Receivers are different, the speed of the game is different. A lot of these guys are crafty, especially in the NFL now. You got to think as a cornerback, how many balls are coming your way? You know what I'm saying? Like how many times, especially a young cornerback that hasn't established himself in the NFL yet, you're seeing a lot of passes coming your way. So I think that it takes a while to develop. MJ Stewart, if I can remember correctly, I think it was a second or third round pick for Tampa Bay. So they had high hopes for him early, and he just didn't pan out over there. But again, he's still a young player with tremendous upside, and he doesn't have to come in to be the man. You still have Denzel, you still have Greedy.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
right. You got Denzel. I thought I still had Joe Hayden.
no, he over there in Pittsburgh. But it's we when Tampa Bay picked MJ Stewart, they needed MJ Stewart to actually come out there and be one of their better corners. We just needed to come in there and provide depth over in Cleveland. So I just think that adding that to already talented secondary, it can't hurt, and it's another can body too. No harm, no foul. It's not like we super gave him a lot of money or anything like that. It's bring him a can body. If he can be what he was projected to be out of college, then you got to steal. You didn't have to pay much for him. If he's no good and he was a bust that Tampa Bay thinks he may be, then you can cut him and get rid of your problems. But I think it was a good low risk move, especially when you're already a pretty good team. And if you're Cleveland, just speaking on Denzel Ward, you're going to have to pay him. So if you have to pay a Denzel, you're going to want to have to provide other cornerbacks that are not getting paid crazy money. You're going to need somebody like an MJ Stewart that you can throw the best minimum to be able to fill out your roster. You're going to have to make crafty, smart moves. That's what makes um, the best organizations is they're able to get more bang for their buck. They're able to get somebody that was thrown on a scrap heap, and they can put them on their roster and make a value contributor out of them. So I think more than anything, that's what the Browns are looking to do with MJ Stewart. They're just trying to get a depth piece for him that can be a valuable contributor, and maybe not even as far as a cornerback. He can provide help in the special teams area, whether it's a gunner or he can play some kick returner too. So I just think it's a good pickup, a solid pickup.
He was a second round pick, by the way.
Second rounder
Yeah.
out of North Carolina.
Yeah, I want to say. Uh, Hold on, let me look. Yeah, out of North Carolina, second round pick. Yeah, and looking at his stats, I could definitely see what you mean by a depth piece because he didn't contribute much down in Tampa Bay at all.
And to that, Tampa Bay over the last couple of years, that backfield was atrocious. So Tampa Bay pretty much throwing darts at the wall. I mean, they
Right.
picked up Carlton Davis, they picked up Justin Evans, they um this year they picked up Antoine Winfield. So it's more so that's probably what cost MJ Stewart his job is that they just kept throwing cornerback picks at the wall and who was going to step up. And MJ Stewart, unfortunately for him, just wasn't one of those guys that stepped up. So it's probably not like he's no good or he can't play. It's just that guys were ahead of you and we need help other places and we need bodies other places. And we found the cornerbacks that will be able to, be able to replace you. Basically, Antoine Winfield did to him what T. Higgins is trying to do to John Ross.
Move him out the way.
Yeah, just move him out the way, and that may cost you a job. But John Ross is again. Now, there's another dude that wouldn't surprise me if he ends up getting cut, but going somewhere else and contributing
All
because
right.
that's what happens a lot in the NFL. The NFL, the show must go on. So young players all the time just get thrown on the scrap heap, and it's you throw them on another roster. It's just a better fit. More than anything, the NFL is just about fit. So anytime you can take a flyer on somebody, and again, when it's no harm, no foul, not a big deal. Like somebody like Antonio Brown, that's not taking a flyer on because that costs you picks. That's the third and the fifth rounder that just you never get back. MJ Stewart, that's just calling a man, bringing him in, signing his contract. If he's great, cool, he's on your roster. If he stinks, you cut him, you move on, don't bat an eye. And he's still young enough that you could probably throw him in your practice squad. So I mean, I'm not mad at it. Good pickup.
Okay. Now, what about Ronald? What is it? Larry?
Ronald Leary. Um, I'm not mad at that either. It's again depth, especially with the Browns. With the COVID opt outs, they lost about I think two or three offensive linemen.
So they did lose people.
Yeah,
Okay.
they lost three. I want to say three offensive linemen, and they lost Billings. So it's more so it's a depth piece. Well, Ronald Leary actually he could push the start. I know Wyatt Teller is the projected start right guard now. Ronald Leary I think is better than him, but it's kind of a pick your poison. It's not like Ronald Leary is that much better than him. He's more talented. He's been in the league longer, but I just think again it's a death piece. It's a no harm, no foul kind of situation. He just got cut, so you're not really messing with your compensatory picks either. You're just bringing another veteran in to fill out camp spots. If he's good enough to be a starter or be good enough to be on your roster, he will be. If he's not, you'll cut him. You won't bat an eye. So I just think that the Browns right now are still working when you could be chilling. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of teams, they brought their roster together for training camp because that's where we're at right now. I mean, we're in that training camp area.
Right.
So you
Well,
want to
just to say, I don't think he's made it on the team yet. He's just trying out.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if they'll sign him
Right.
if he does good with that. So he has a tryout, then they'll sign him. Just kind of like the Mike Daniels situation. Mike Daniels had a tryout. He looked good.
Yeah. And then the Bengals signed him.
And Mike Daniels is another one. He's not guaranteed to make the roster, but
He's just a depth piece.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like we can see if we still got something with him, he'll be able to play.
Because it's a beefy defensive line, but he adds to it. So
Yeah.
you saying the same thing with Ronald Leary?
Yeah, except the Browns' offensive line ain't as beefy. I mean, the starters look pretty solid, but Wyatt Teller it's a questionable. It's a question mark. So I just think that you want to sign people that can come in there and produce. And Ronald Leary, it's a guy that he can play in this league. Wyatt Teller, he's been in the league, but you don't know if he can play. Leary, it was more so money and just cap situation. Situations is fluid. Again, the NFL, it's a lot different. You're not getting cut because you can't play. So many different variables come into play, and I just think that not often you see a guy of his caliber able to be there on the scrap heap for cheap, and you can bring him to the roster to kind of help your team. This is just what it's about. And now more than anything, you want guys that can play. And I think knowing Ronald Leary can play, it'll help you bring him in opposed to a first year rookie who you're not only going to have to teach how to play at an NFL level, but you're going to have to teach him how to play at an NFL level during the COVID situation. Ronald Leary, you can just throw out there and put in the huddle. He can go out there and produce. It's going to be more of that. I think you're going to see just across the NFL. They're going to be going after people that can play, and they know that they can play, and they are not going to have to do too much teaching with. Ronald Leary just kind of fall in that category.
All right. Okay. The 5 linemen that opted out for the Browns were Drew Forbes, Drake Dorbeck, Kobe Gossett, Malcolm Pigeon, and Andrew Billings.
Okay.
Like I
So it's
butchered some of those names,
oh
but
yeah, best believe. So it's four offensive linemen and one defensive lineman, correct?
yeah, I think so. It
Okay.
just says all linemen though.
Yeah, and I think linemen. I think they have more of an issue with the
Yeah,
COVID situation
that's
compared
that.
to the
That's what
weight.
Andrew Whitworth was talking about. He was like, because of the weight situation, even though they're technically healthy compared to some people who probably 300 pounds, but still 300 pounds, you can have breathing problems and all that heart conditions. So
And that's a big thing too. Reference to Joe Thomas, you see the first thing he did once he was done. I'm going to drop this weight. You
yeah,
have to
like he
be
looked
300
fit.
something to play in the NFL. But when you're not playing the NFL no more, you will have to drop that weight and get healthy because that can have an effect on your heart and effect on you moving forward. So especially taking all those hits and those injuries and everything. Like I get it, and I'm not one of those people that if you decide not to play, I ain't mad at you because
All
you're
right,
you're putting your safety and your health in front of everything, and that's what you should do. Um, but I do believe that if you're going to play, you need to be 100% in. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to be ready to come in, do your job, and stick it out. And I think that's why they did give them that opt-out time. They did shut it off when they shut it off because we need to know. We don't need to because for everybody involved, I need to know that you bought in because one player can ruin the whole situation. You know what I'm saying? For something that we're trying to set up for. And with the COVID, we don't know how that's going to be going forward. Like it's so many different variables that come with it. So I don't knock any player that decides to do that, but just like the Browns are doing, just like other teams are about to do, we're gonna have to replace you one way or another. So opt in, opt out, figure it out. And then we just play the sport the way we need to play the sport.
all right, okay. Well, we're about to go on break. When we come back, we're gonna talk some Ravens and Steelers. See what's going on in their training camp. But we'll see you in a minute. All right, and we back. We back. We
See,
are,
how we come back and I look upset. My arms is folded.
that is not my fault, man.
You could have gave me the warning, like, oh, we better be back. Nope.
I never know when these commercials are going to end.
How do you not know?
Bro, it does not like it tells me truly. All right, when you in the producer chair, you'll see.
All right. That means you got to be in this chair.
Yeah, means I
Yeah.
gotta come with the facts.
Yep.
It's crazy. All right, but now we about to talk Justin Lane and the Pittsburgh Steelers. All right, so the Steelers activated Justin Lane off the reserve list. He is a third round pick last year. He's just expected to be a depth piece. Mostly played defense on special teams. That's really it. But what you thinking on that?
It's, one is always good to be, and he was on the cover list, right?
Yeah, the reserve slash COVID list.
Yeah, it's good to be activated off that list because it means you don't have COVID. It means you can get back and participate with your team and play football. You can do what you want to. You can do what you can to do. And especially for somebody that, like you said, he's a third round pick, death piece.
Yeah,
You can change your fortunes during training camp. That's where you make your money. That's where you move up on the depth chart. So, as far as a young player, you need training camp. You need that time to be out there with your teammates and again to get better and learn your role and make your moves. So I think for him, it's just good to as much training camp as you can get the better. For a guy like Joe Hayden, who's a vet, he may not need training camp like that. He can just come in, get ready, play. But I think for Justin, you need to get your reps up. You need to be able to take somebody's spot. You need to be coming for Joe Hayden.
I
So I think
mean they released Brian Borders or whatever his first name is to fill that spot out though
for the
for Justin Lane. They released him.
but you still have to move up in that cornerback spot range. I don't. What was Brian? Was he a corner that got cut?
Yeah, he was a corner that got cut.
That
So I mean that probably puts him like fourth
yeah.
on the corner depth chart.
But point being is when you're in training camp, you still want to be able to try. Like you can start off at four, but if you have a great training camp, you can move to maybe the slot. You can move to the second guy. You
All
can
right.
even take Joe Hayden's spot. But the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you're out there playing during training camp. So I just think with him, as long as you can get off that list, you're a young player, you can get your reps, you can be able to show the coaches what you can do. It's going to help tremendously for him and his defense if he can't play any the longer he was on that list. Again, referencing John Ross, the longer John Ross is on that COVID list, the more chances he's going to have to get replaced. he needs to hurry up and try to get off that COVID list like Justin, because Justin can compete for his spot now because he's not missing reps. They're not going to stop training camp because you're on the COVID list. Somebody else is getting that time. The Brian guy that was on that team, he probably got cut because he didn't do what he needed to do during that allocated time, especially with the rosters being slimmed down, especially with this COVID situation, especially in the back of your mind as a coach. You could think we cut off the time where players can opt out, but you'll still have somebody with cold feet. Somebody may retire because of the COVID situation. So you have to still keep that in your mind, and you have to make every second count, every rep count. So I mean, it doesn't hurt to just again be back on the field. Anybody that can, as much as I hate the Steelers, anybody that can play any type of football, I'm cool with. Just to have that opportunity. Like I don't want nobody on that COVID list. I don't want nobody to have to opt out. I don't want it to be an effect on anything. I mean, unfortunately that's not the world we live in, but it's just nice to see somebody being able to still continue to play football. Rather he's playing for a team I can't stand or not is a whole nother story. But
All right.
I'm happy that he can at least get to play football.
Okay. And out of the Ravens training camp, not much. I didn't see much. The only thing I saw really is that the offense and defensive coordinator are in like minds that they're just focused on the season. You know, they're saying that the protocols that they got in place are just perfect. Like Lamar said, he's trying to be a bubble boy, so he's just trying to stay away. And uh, Ingram, he said just a positive, mindset will get you through it. But they're just saying like the players that opted out for their team are just an afterthought. What you think on all that?
I mean, the show goes on. I'm not mad at it, and that's how it has to be. Life's about decisions, um, and that's just the game. It's next man up. It's always going to be next man up. You're gonna have to play within yourself. You're gonna have to play for the team. You're gonna have to play for the teammates that aren't there. You just can't focus on the teammates that aren't there. It ain't no different than the regular season. Somebody every year somebody gets hurt. There's gonna be somebody that's out. There's gonna be somebody that makes that 53-man roster that won't play it down because of injuries. The show has to go on. The next guy's gonna have to take his spot. You're gonna have to still continue to march on. So I think that's the attitude to have, because to me it's my theory is like driving a car. If you get in that car and you try to drive and you just look in the rear view, and that's, to me, it's a life lesson too. You focus on what's ahead of you, not the behind. You can't drive a car like this the whole time, because if
So
you
you
do,
on like the same type of wavelength that Mark Ingram is, just a positive mindset gets you through this whole season.
yeah, the show goes on. You have to, because and you'll hear coaches say it. Our coach who's here. You'll see somebody suspended, or you see somebody injured, or ask them about it. I coach who's here, and we're expected to still go out there and win. And I think that's what Mark Ingram and Lamar Jackson is more so speaking towards. We have to worry about the guys that are here. I can't worry about the players that opted out. I can't worry about the stuff that I can't control. And that's what it boils down to. Is ultimately not worrying about the things that you can't control. Control what you can control. I can control the people that are here. I know who's gonna have my back here. We're gonna play with what we have here, and we move on that way. So I can respect it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I see everyone, like, I see their point of view. I see your point of view. And I also agree with not worrying about the players that opted out because they're not here. So it's like you just focus on what's here, on who's here, and just to get the job done. I don't think it really is going to affect them at all for that season. So
I mean, now if Lamar Jackson ain't there,
yeah, then it will affect them.
you got a problem. Mark
Well, I mean, they
Ingram,
got who they got as backup.
RG3, you got a problem.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. RG3 ain't
He made
coming.
the Washington football team, as they're called now. He made them relevant.
Yeah, what was that?
That was like maybe like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
It ain't RG3 ain't doing nothing but holding that clipboard. That's about the best he's gonna do at this point. He could come in and start a couple games, but if you have Lamar Jackson out and RG3 in for 16 of them, it's gonna be bad for you. So I mean, they have what they need. I can't recall who all opted out for the Ravens, but I don't think that it was anybody of real relevance that opted out for them. So I mean, they're pretty much still they're still in that good spot. They're happy.
Okay. Well, we're gonna move on from training camp. And hold on, let me change it up. But if you want to check us out at scoreonair.com where we have all our live streams, daily blogs, daily content. I can't think what else is on the website, but just check us out at scoreonair.com or scoreonair at facebook.com.
Should have just been like, we got stuff.
Yeah, we got stuff.
We got fun, cool stuff.
Also, by the way, make sure y'all check out Mojo Sports Gear. That's where you get all your, your nice little sports gear. You feel me? Get a nice jersey, nice hat, nice. I don't know, like
Get
the
you a
T-shirt
mask.
that T got.
This
Oh,
one?
yeah, like that, like a little football.
This is official, man. This ain't no Mojo.
I'm not saying you got it from Mojo. I'm just saying they might have something like that.
Oh man, so Mojo biting is what you saying?
That's crazy.
Mm-mm-mm.
All right.
Now you can't get your custom stuff. Really, need to see what's up with them custom Mojo masks. That's the move. We need to get our masks, man. We
Yeah,
need to
we
get us
really
some
do.
Nutty North masks.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the what if topic, and we're gonna start off with the Browns. What if they never moved out of Cleveland and went to Baltimore?
That's an easy one. That'll be the Ravens. That's just what would have happened. I'm quite sure every piece of success that happened in Baltimore would have happened in Cleveland. It's just, it's that's still a touchy subject, man. But
You truly believe that?
yeah, because what was the difference? That was the Browns organization. The Browns organization just packed up and moved. They took the people, they took the organization, they took everybody, they took everything. They let Belichick go, which was dumb, but um, it was still a Browns team moved to Indianapolis. I mean, excuse me, moved to Baltimore. So I just really think that it would have been the same thing. It just would have been the other way around. Like I can't say the Ravens would have been the Browns because the Browns had to get an expansion team put together. That was there was no Browns at all. They packed them up and they moved them. So um, I just think that it we would have had a Ray Lewis over there in Cleveland. He just would have been wearing burnt brown and orange. Like we would have had an Ed Reed. We would have had um, Tony Saragusa. We would have had Jamal Lewis. We would have had all of that. We wouldn't have been as sucky as we've been. We started off.
I mean, I wouldn't say y'all would have had all them. I mean, maybe a Ray Lewis, maybe a Ed Reed, but
It's the
all of them.
same organization.
I mean, I get that it was the same organization, and I'm looking at the history of it, and it's like I don't know why they moved, other than the fact that he lost money from the Indians. I don't know why he moved the whole team.
That's all it boiled down to. It was a money thing.
Yeah, because like the previous season they was 11-5.
That's all it was. That's what I'm saying. The momentum. So the Browns get a bad rap, which absolutely is deserved.
Right.
But at the same time, the Browns were the Ravens organization. So it was they just moved cities. That's what I'm saying. Like the organization didn't change. The structure didn't change. Like the Ravens slash Browns are the opposite of what the actual Browns are. The Ravens are stability. The Ravens are, they do things the right way. They, have solid special teams. You know what I'm saying? They have a championship pedigree. They have all the things the Browns don't have. And that's because they took what the Browns did have, they took it into Baltimore, and then the Browns had to start all over. So they had to start their own legacy. Like the Browns, their legacy from way back when is connected to this Browns organization right now. But in truth, all those accolades, like the old Browns teams that won championships back in the day, those championships are supposed to be in the Ravens organization because they are coming from that area.
So you're talking about like what the 50s? That was the last championship
Yeah,
they had. So before the NFL merger, all that should be in Baltimore.
that should be in Baltimore because the Browns organization is the Baltimore organization. They just moved cities. The Browns that we have now was a completely different expansion team. That wasn't they didn't have no lineage until 1999 when they became an expansion team. So
Right.
them even though like I said Jim Brown comes to this Cleveland team, talks to them, he's the legend in that locker room and all of that. His legacy is actually tied down to the Ravens legacy because that's where they came from. But they given it to the new Browns organization because the Browns are the Browns.
Right.
It's basically like the NFL felt bad for the Browns that their team was taken out, and it does have to suck to see that your team gets taken, moved to Baltimore, then look up and they have a championship. NFL felt bad, started an expansion team, Tim Couch gets drafted, and the rest is history.
Okay. All right.
Just it is what it is. So
So,
in my humble opinion, it just would have been everything that the Ravens are today. The Browns would have been.
all right. So basically, if you're at home listening, Coach or Maurice Edwards, you would be a Browns fan.
Yeah, pretty much. Basically,
That's crazy. He
that's
ain't gonna like that.
well, truth hurts. But I mean, to counterpoint that, I can say that I am a firm believer in the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect too.
Right.
So I mean, while I can make a case that everything that would have happened would
What
have
happened for
happened for
y'all?
for us, I can also say that if the Browns had never moved, then Ray Lewis and Ed Reed may never have been on the same team. Something somebody may have it might have been a different draft pick. You might have picked Ray Lewis one year and Ray Lewis and Jonathan Ogden went in that same draft. You might have taken Jonathan Ogden, but you may not have taken Ray Lewis. You may have took somebody else. That
Right.
changes everything. You know what I'm saying? So, um, you can what if all day long, but it's just so many different ways that it could go. Like you can what if, pretty much anything, but it's always one thing that changes the whole landscape of the NFL. So, um, I would like to think that that will be the case, but who knows? That's truly the what if about everything is who knows, who actually knows. Everything is just speculation. So, um, all I know is what we have now, and Ravens are stability, and the Browns are not. So,
I mean, y'all starting to look up now. So
yeah, but once you touch rock bottom, you can't go nowhere but up. So, I mean, I'm happy where we at now, but it's still like, and that's to me at some point it's going to be rewarding. And I said that to say this. Um, it sucks that we haven't been, the staple of stability or none of that. We don't have Super Bowls or whatever. But I do know, especially being a Cavs fan, how sweet it's gonna feel once we finally do get over that hump and win the championship. That's the beauty of not jumping from team to team and athlete ride or anything like that. Because your championship victories feel like you earned them along with your team. So whenever Cleveland Browns organization does win the Super Bowl, I might cry like a baby because we earned it and we went through whatever to get it, and I'll be happy.
did you cry when the Cavs won?
I cry like a baby.
That's crazy. I mean, I didn't cry, but a little tear came down
I
like Denzel.
cried. I cried. I cried. I cried. I mean, I loved it. But I mean, when the Cavs won, it meant more to me than just a game.
Right.
It was, and I'm not gonna get into all that here. We don't have time for it. But it meant way more to me, especially loyalty means something to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I still believe in that. I still believe in competition and riding with your team. So, um, to see a LeBron James, I know we talk about a little basketball and football show, but to see LeBron leave and then see people kind of trying to come at my neck for being loyal to a team or loyal to a situation, just like the Browns. I get a lot of jokes about being a Brown fan, but at the end of the day, I'd rather be a Brown fan and take the losses than just jump on bandwagon after bandwagon and just continuously ride with the winners and
Right.
do all that because I like the victory when we finally do get one. And you have to go through things to finally get the ultimate goal. So that's why I meant something because you get the fakes laughing at you for being real, and now you get to turn around and laugh back at them. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I feel that. I
it
feel
just
that.
it meant more. And then, again, it'd be the same thing when the Browns win it. I'm gonna be annoying. When the Cavs won, I was extremely annoying to everybody that whole entire summer, and I'm gonna be the same way when the Browns win. Annoying.
Okay. Well, I can see that. I didn't cry when the Cavs won. I ain't gonna lie.
You
I
don't
was a
love them
closet.
as much, man.
I mean, I was a closet Cavs fan because I was young, so I went with LeBron down to Miami. So seeing him win that first one, I was cool off that.
See, it was different. I'm a Cav fan. Like I'm
Through and
still a
through.
Cav fan today. I'll
No, I'm
be a
still a
Cav fan
Cavs fan
tomorrow.
too.
If LeBron leaves, he leaves. And that was always my thing. So it feels better when you get it. And, again, going to the Browns, it feels much better when you earn it. So
Right. So speaking on how it's gonna feel when we earn it, I'm gonna talk a little bit about if Jerry Rice came to the Bengals, we would have had two Super Bowls. I know that much.
mm,
I know that much. So that was back in 1985, that draft, where it was Al Toon, Eddie Brown, and Jerry Rice. Those were the three top receivers, I think. I want to say those are the three top receivers. I want to say Al Toon. I don't know who he went to. Was it Dallas? I have no clue. No, it was the Jets that got Toon, and then it was down to Brown and Jerry. I mean, look, they both met in the Super Bowl. I think it was the first one. Eddie Brown and uh, Jerry Rice met in that one, and I want to say that was like Eddie Brown's breakout season. I want to say he was. I don't know what he got at the end of the year. I think, he was, but what you think on that?
Uh, Obviously they whiffed, but I mean, back then the draft wasn't the exact science.
Right.
It's not like, and hindsight's always 2020. But if everybody in the world knew that Jerry Rice was going to be the greatest player of all time or greatest wide receiver of all time, Jerry Rice would have won the top five. Flat out. Revisionist history can easily say, "Oh, bad move, whatever," and I get that because Jerry Rice is Jerry Rice. But you say Al Toon and Freddie Brown,
Yeah, Al Toon and Eddie Brown.
Eddie Brown, they were looked at as probably better prospects at that
I
time.
mean, they were better prospects because Jerry Rice was coming out of a small college. I want to say, so he was the smaller one out of both of them. But I mean, Eddie Brown would have been something because he was rookie of the year in 1985, and then they met in '88, and I don't think he contributed much to that Super Bowl. But I mean, we would have had that if we just had Jerry Rice. But because we ran the same offense as the 49ers did back then. I want to say it was West Coast that both teams ran, so he would have fit that system. But it was because the Bengals wanted a third round pick and the 49ers didn't give it up. So that trade never materialized. So they took Eddie Brown at 13 and Jerry went to the 49ers at 16.
And that's how it goes too. I mean, it's the draft not being an exact science. It is one move can potentially rip you to shreds. And I mean, I'm sure we can do a what if on every team, and it's going to be the same way. San Francisco has what ifs.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but shout out to the Bengals for even getting to a Super Bowl. I mean, it's
Shout out
kind
to
of
them to get two Super
yeah,
Bowls.
it's kind of crazy how it turned out that they had to deal with Jerry Rice when in the
In both
Super
Super
Bowl.
Bowls. I mean, it was first Joe Montana in the first one, then Steve Young in the second. So
But I mean,
that's a what if right there for the 49ers.
it is what it is though, and then at the same time, you can think that Jerry Rice would have did what he did, but you had Steve Young and Joe Montana.
Yeah, but
You
I
wouldn't
mean, I
you
think
wouldn't
the
have had that.
Bengals had
Was that the Ken Anderson time?
I think it might have been Ken or Boomer Esiason.
Those are good quarterbacks, absolutely, but they're not Joe Montana and Steve Young. Now,
I mean,
again,
like with a talented receiver like Jerry.
and that's my argument. Like, you could say that Joe Montana and Steve Young did get helped a lot by having a Jerry Rice, and that may have been the same thing with Ken Anderson and Boomer. But again, once again, you just don't know. What we do know is Jerry Rice is one of those kind of players that I think no matter where he was, he would have had a title. I was listening to something Shaq was saying the other day. He was talking about the others, and he was saying like he might have had two championships if it wasn't. I mean, he wouldn't have had four championships if it wasn't for the others. He may have had one, may have had two, but he wouldn't have had four. And that makes me think about Jerry. Like, Jerry would have still been a great player. Jerry would have still been a champion. But I think if he was in Cincinnati, he just may not have had the career that he ended up having in San Francisco because of the varieties of factors that did happen for him there. So I mean, I just think Jerry definitely won't be a person that would do it any other way. I know Cincinnati would if they could have, but at the same time,
I mean, I don't know if we would completely do it the other way because it's not like Eddie Brown was a complete bust. I think he got injured.
you
That's
would
what.
take Jerry Rice.
I mean, yeah, but it's not like Eddie Brown was that far below.
Yeah, but you'll still take Jerry Rice today.
All right,
If you would take Eddie Brown.
I mean, thinking back then,
No, I'm talking about now.
like right now,
Yeah,
right
looking
now.
back at it now, you would do it over again if you're Cincinnati. I'm saying Jerry Rice wouldn't be like, oh, I would rather go to Cincinnati and see what I would have done there. He'd never say that. But Cincinnati would have been like, yeah, if I had a chance to pick Jerry Rice, I sure would.
I mean, he could have it was both the era of Ken Anderson and Boomer Esiason.
Yeah, but Joe Montana and Steve Young is still Joe Montana and Steve Young.
I mean, but all right, I'm like, all right.
That's all I'm saying. Like, even if I did make you better, you still are Joe Montana and Steve Young, so I don't have to do as much to make you better as I would have had to do with Ken Anderson and Boomer Science.
But
even though they were still
even if he was on the Bengals for both Super Bowls, right? They were winning at first, and if it wasn't for I think that pass that Joe had in the first one, and I think a pass that Steve had in the second one, they would have had those Super Bowls. So if he was on that team, he would have just elevated it though.
Yeah, I mean, he would have, but again, it's you would have had maybe a ring. You know what I mean? You would have. It's still a
I mean,
effect that's going to happen if you're somewhere else. Like if Jerry Rice is over there in Cincinnati, then something else is happening somewhere else that may stop Jerry Rice from getting rings. You know, somebody in Pittsburgh may come along that now stops Cincinnati. You know what I'm saying? From being able to be a perennial AFC contender.
you really believe in this
It's a
butterfly
butterfly
effect?
effect. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, looking at it, all he would have had is probably one less Super Bowl at best.
You still have less. Your career still wasn't what it could have been. That's all I'm saying. Like you could still have a great career because Jerry Rice is still the GOAT.
All right,
But you will take a step back because you don't have Joe Montana and
you
you
don't
don't
have.
have Steve Young.
Okay,
Even if Ken Anderson's a good quarterback in his own right, even if
Boomer
Boomer
size
Esiason's a good quarterback in his own right, they're still not Steve Young. They're
and
still
Joe
not
Montana.
Joe Montana. So it's Jerry Rice low key had a LeBron like career as far as
What you mean by that?
like the talent around him. You had elite talent. After LeBron's first stint in Cleveland, he was not around
B or C plus players.
yeah, he wasn't. It was you always had a star player around you when you're LeBron James. Just like Jerry Rice, you never had nobody outside of when the Seattle and Oakland years, which those are the Jordan years for him. You had Joe Montana and Steve Young your whole entire career.
Right.
So it's you were always going to be able to be elite because you had another elite person next to you. You were able to be the best you could be. If you're somebody else, you're not able to be the best you could be because you don't have that level of eliteness. So it's kind of like the Tom Brady and Bill Belichick thing. They're now about to see what each other are like without each other
Without each
because
other, but
I've had elite this whole time,
I
so
mean,
you
even
couldn't really
though
have a barometer.
Belichick had a rocky years before Brady, he was still a decent coach.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's you forget about that now because they've been together for almost 20 years.
Right.
So almost like nothing happened, that happened before happened because you're so connected to each other. You're so like this. So because of that, it's just it elite helps elite become more elite, So it's you're able to do more with what you had. So just to be able to have the talent level that he had and things being switched around because the draft it has to be different. If you have a
What
Jerry
you mean
Rice,
by the draft had to be different?
all drafts have to be different. If Jerry Rice is in Cincinnati, every draft is different because now your standards are different. Jerry Rice helped Cincinnati become a better team for a decade now. So where Cincinnati's picking, I think they ended up in that Kajana and Carter range at some point where
Right.
they're picking bust, Achilles Smith and all that. They're picking bust. These things don't happen with Jerry Rice there. So now Achilles Smith's career is different. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I mean by the what if and the butterfly effect things of how
So
things.
with this butterfly effect and what if doesn't that just blow up your theory about the Browns will be the have the Ravens success?
Well, I made a counter argument about that.
I don't know, man, but you making a counter argument right now.
I'm saying
That's
there
counter.
ain't nobody right here. Can I not make two sides to an argument?
I mean, you can, but
Come over here and be like,
nah.
that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like I what I think is one thing.
Right.
I personally think that what they go into both situations, I think the Browns would have been the Ravens just
Mhm.
because of the organization being the same thing. Now, I don't think they would have made all the same picks. I will say that, but that's going to the butterfly effect theory. I think the Browns still would have had success. I think the Bengals still would have had success. I just don't think in both cases the success would have been higher than what those teams reach as is.
Okay.
So I think the what did happen was more successful than the what if. So that's just my take on it.
All right, I see your point. I mean, I'm still gonna hold in my heart that if we got Jerry Rice, who has two Super Bowls, and not be down and out the way we are now.
You at
But
least had one. I'll give you that.
what you mean?
You at least had one Super Bowl.
So we would at least get one.
Yeah.
So we would be 1-1 instead of 0-2.
I'm not saying that you'd have been 1-1. I'm saying you may not have gotten to two Super Bowls.
That's crazy.
You just may not have.
So that's the same in the Browns argument. Y'all would have probably got to the one in what was it? The Ravens got to the one in '96, right?
Might have won that one, but again,
And what was it, 2013 that the Ravens went?
might have not won it with Flacco.
Okay.
but we might not have picked Flacco. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
Like
These what is
it's a
they
lot of
they
what ifs,
they
man.
driving me crazy. But that's it for the show notes. You got anything else you want to say?
Um, check us out next week. We will be here same time, same show. Hopefully we get Coach back. Hill
Hopefully.
up, buddy. We will be here. Hold you down. We got
Yeah.
open gym next week. On Wednesday, same place, same time, same channel. Check us out on Scoring Their Network. Don't hit Rondell Sutherland up on Facebook. He don't check his messages.
Bro,
Um, that's about it.
that's crazy.
That is about it.
Y'all gotta stop telling people I don't check my messages.
I mean, you say it on air. What are
Did
we?
I?
Yes.
All right, I probably did.
Sheesh.
But yeah, just to repeat it, just repeating everything that T said, especially hoping Maurice has a speedy recovery and that he's back. And whether it's through Skype or he's at that chair over there debating with T, hopefully he's back. We miss him.
Retire, coach. This is the time. This
But
is your calling.
but yeah, ain't nothing else to say. Slow news day. Probably gonna be a slow news week tomorrow. So
Good
look at
talk.
that, Marvell's here. But see y'all next time, man.